Boys, I'm gonna start off this video being very honest. This mic, it does not work, okay? This is pure decoration. This is pure for just, special effects. It does not work a single bit. And I just use it for like special effects. I think it looks cool, okay? I don't have a mic yet. I will buy a mic, but right now, because I'm only starting this YouTube channel, I don't think it's the right time to buy a mic. But hopefully in the future, when things start to maybe I get more views or whatever, I'll buy a mic. I just want to say, boys, I've been thinking about money. Okay, growing up, we had a lot of difficulty in the family. Financial difficulties and just problems overall when it came to having money. We were at times very short on money, and sometimes we weren't able to, even when it comes to food, we weren't even able to eat like the foods we'd like to eat. Okay, so when we went to the market as a family, we would buy things that were on sale, things that were on discount, cheap, the cheapest possible foods. And there were lots of times where I remember as a child, my parents talking, it was just a constant, discussion. Money, 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 we're short on money. And it just ingrained in my head, like this sort of lack of money, growing up. And what that did to me, that gave me a scarcity mindset. And now that I'm older, I'm 22 right now, I know that money is important, okay? I know that money can buy you things and it's a necessity for life. We need money to live, to survive. But money is not hard to come by. And what I mean by this, because we had so much difficulty growing up when it came to money, for some reason it got ingrained in my head that money is a thing, like this sacred thing that you need to work really hard for, something that doesn't come by easy. To a certain extent, that's true, okay? But growing up, we had this scarcity mindset. Oh, money's gonna run out. Money's gonna run out. Money is gonna run out. And what that does to you in your brain, that it makes it difficult for you actually to make money, okay? Because for you to make money, sometimes you need to take risks, okay? This is just the truth. This is the truth. Some people might not like to hear what I'm saying. For you to make a lot of money, sometimes you need to take risks, okay? Not all the time. I'm not talking about just gambling. I'm talking about calculated risks. And when you are scared of losing money, even when it comes to calculated risks, you're just afraid. You're afraid to make that risk because you're scared to lose money, and you're scared that money's going to run out. You're scared that, you're going to lose your money and you're going to have to live in the streets, and, and you just think about the worst case scenario. And that's what it does to you, okay? But the truth is, if you have this scarcity mindset, which is really hard to get rid of, it's really hard to get rid of, especially if you grew up kind of poor, you grew up with difficulties and financial difficulties, it is quite difficult to get rid of this scarcity mindset, But if you understand that for you to make money, sometimes you're going to have to take risks, okay? And sometimes you're going to have to take losses. And that's just a part of the journey. And once you realize this, for you to make money, you need to use money as a tool. And, I'm not a professor in business. I'm not super intelligent when it comes to, making a lot of money. But what I can tell you, boys, a year ago, I did not have a single dollar to my name. And that is the truth. I did not have a single dollar. I live in Brazil, so it's not dollars, it's reais. I did not have 1 real in my name, okay? If you went to my bank account, it would big zero. Big zero. nothing coming in, nothing really going out, living with my parents, not a lot of money, no money actually, nothing coming in. And in the space of 1 year, in a period of 1 year, I was able to save up 100k, which is nowadays 100k. People make that in minutes. You go on YouTube and people are like, oh, I made 100k in 10 minutes. Okay, but the truth is 100k is quite a lot of money for the average person. For most people, 100k, some people might not even make that in a lifetime. Might not be able to save that amount of money in a lifetime. So 100k, yeah, nowadays it's not a lot of money. But someone who didn't really have nothing to their name, making 100k, saving up 100k is a lot of money. It's a decent amount of money. And I was able to save up 100k. And during this journey, I had to take a lot of risks, okay? I could not have this scarcity mindset. Oh, I'm going to lose money if I take this risk or I invest in this or I make, this investment long term, I'm going to lose money. You have to take risks, okay? Because at the end of the day, what money is just another tool for you to make more money. So you need to see money as a tool to make more money, okay? Money is not necessarily... You should not value yourself on how much money you have in your bank account, okay? This is another thing as well. I used to value myself, okay, I have this amount of money in my bank account. That means, this is where my value holds. This is what this is my value is all here. How much money I have in my bank account. That is how I value myself. You cannot value yourself on how much money you have in your bank account. Instead, you should be valuing, your financial journey, your financial, process. Let's call it a process. It's a journey, it's a process. You should value it on your income, not necessarily how much money you have in your bank account. Because a lot of successful people, they make a lot of money, but if you go to their bank account, they don't have much money because it's all invested. It's all invested into their business, into, crypto or whatever. They make smart investments and they don't have that scarcity mindset. They take calculated risks, and that's how you make a lot of money, okay? When you here in Brazil, we have this expression, okay? I'm not sure in other countries you have the same thing. Here in Brazil, we have this expression when a person is like this, they have a scarcity mindset because they're very, scared to waste money. They go to the markets. Let's say they go to the supermarket. They buy the cheapest thing available. Even if they have money, they go to the market and they buy, the cheapest quality food, the cheapest, the ones that are on discount, the ones on sale. Every penny matters to them because they have that scarcity mindset. Every penny matters to them. My dad is, sorry to say this, my dad isn't going to watch this, but I'm just saying, my dad, he has a scarcity mindset, okay? He thinks about every single penny. And what that does, he's too scared to make, smart investments. He's scared to invest his money because he has this scarcity mindset where, he's scared to even, waste a single penny. So you need to get rid of this scarcity mindset where, money is... There's so much money out there, okay? There's so much money there to be, so many opportunities, so much money there for the grabbing, for the taking. It's all about, your belief system, how much you believe in yourself. For example, let's say you were to lose money, which could happen, taking a risk. If you were to lose money, you need to believe in yourself that you're going to make that money back, okay? And I believe in myself. If I take a risk and it doesn't go my way, I believe in myself to make that money back, okay? And that's the type of mentality you need to have. A mentality where you're not scared to take risks because okay, I might lose this money or I might make a lot of money. Either way, I'm not going to die. It's not the end of the world because I can make it back. And that's the sort of mentality you need to have. And for me, it was very hard to achieve this sort of mentality because, like I said, growing up, we did not have a lot of money. And I just remember all the time my mom and my dad just talking about, how we didn't have money to pay rent and, My dad worked like 2-3 jobs. My mum worked a job as well. And we didn't wear the best clothes, you know. It wasn't like nothing like Nike and Adidas. We always used to wear, you know, the cheapest, you know, available clothes. And yeah, and then you just grow up with sort of mentality that, you know, this scarcity mentality where you're just scared. You have this fear when it comes to money. You have this fear when it comes to, you know, making money, losing money. Money means a lot to you, you know. And if you grew up like me, you probably have the same difficulties as me. But, you know, you need to overcome that. And I'm not sure if I can give you advice on how to overcome this mentality. If I was to look back on how I overcame this mentality, was probably I realized that for me to actually be successful in this life, for me to actually be wealthy, for me to make a lot of money, I need to just overpower this fear. You know, I feel like I made an evaluation, okay? I weighed it out on a scale. Either I continue to be scared when it comes to money, I continue with this fear, I continue being like very, you know, scarcity mentality when it comes to money, scared of losing money, scared of being poor, scared of all of this, scared of living in the streets, scared of not having money to eat. I can live like that forever and, you know, be a failure and not make a lot of money, just live in this fear. Or I can make a change, because it was more about, okay, what am I more scared of, losing money or being a failure? I'm more scared of being a failure, to be honest. So I made that evaluation in my head. It took me a long time, but I was able to overcome it. And I think I've said all I needed to say. You know, hopefully this video resonated with you guys, and hopefully you were able to watch all of it. Sorry if it wasn't the best quality video. You know, I'm only starting off. I know I'm not the best speaker, the best communicator, but, you know, I'm giving it my best, and hopefully I can help you guys to you know, achieve your dreams, achieve, you know, success, or whatever success means to you. Sometimes it's not even money, and that's okay. You know, money isn't everything. Money isn't the end all. You know, success means, you know, it's different for each person. Sometimes for a certain person it might be money, for another person it might be, you know, spirituality. You know, for me it's both. For me it's both. But for certain people it's different, so, and that's okay. You know, each to their own. I'm not trying to force any sort of, you know, mentality or tell you to put any pressure on yourself. I'm just talking about my own experiences and how I feel, you know, as a person, my own experiences, my difficulties, and that's all I can really speak of. I can't do much else. And yeah, boys, have a good one. Thank you for watching, and on to the next video.